10 facts about Jimi Hendrix. Though he widely considered one of the most iconic musicians of the 20th century, Jimi Hendrix passed away and his career was really just getting started. Still, he managed to accomplish a lot of the approximately 4 years he spent in the spotlight and lived this world a legend when he died on September 18, 1970 at the age of 27. Here are 10 things you might not have known about the musical legend. 1. Jimi Hendrix didn't become Jimi until 1966. Jimi Hendrix was born in Seattle on November 27, 1942, as John Allen Hendrix. He was initially raised by his mother while his father, James L. Hendrix, was in Europe fighting in World War II. When L returned to the United States in 1945, he collected his son and renamed his James Marshall Hendrix. In 1966, Chet Chandler, the bassist for The Animals, who would go on to become Jimi's manager, saw the musician playing at Cafe Wha in New York City. This guy didn't seem anything special, then all of a sudden he started playing with his teeth, wrote James Tappy Wright, who was there told in the BBC in 2016. People were saying, "What the hell?" And Chet thought, "I could do something with this kid." Though Hendrix was performing at Jimmy James at the time, it was Chandler who suggested he use the name Jimi. 2. Muddy Waters turned Jimi Hendrix on onto the guitar and scared the hell out of him. When asked about the guitarist who inspired Jimi Hendrix, cited Buddy Holly, Eddie Cochran, Elmore James, and B.B. King. But Muddy Waters was the first musician who truly made him aware of the instrument. "The first guitarist I was aware of was Muddy Waters," Hendrix said. "I heard one of his old records when I was a little boy, and it scared me to death because I heard all these sounds." 3. Jimi Hendrix could not read music. In 1969, Dick Cavett asked the musician whether he could read music. "No, not at all," the self-taught musician replied. He learned to play by ear and would often use words of colors to express what he wanted to communicate. "Some feelings make you think of different colors," he said in an interview with Crawdaddy magazine. "Jealousy is purple, I'm purple with rage or purple with anger, and green is envy, and all this." 4. Jimi Hendrix used his dreams as inspiration for his songwriting. Hendrix drew inspiration for his music from a lot of places, including his dreams. "I dream a lot, and I put a lot of my dreams down in songs," he explained in 1967 interview with New Musical Express. "I wrote one called First Look and another called The Purple Haze, which was all about dreams I had that I was walking under the sea." In another interview, he said the idea for Purple Haze came to him in a dream after reading a sci-fi novel believed to be Philip John Farm's Night of Light. 5. Purple Haze features one of the music's most famous mondegrins. In the same interview with New Musical Express, it's not that the Purple Haze lyric, "Excuse me while I kiss the sky," was in reference to a drowning man Hendrix saw in his dream, which makes the fact that many fans often mishear the line as "excuse me while I'll kiss this guy" even more appropriate. It was such a common mistake that Hendrix himself was known to have some fun with it, often singing the incorrect lyrics on stage, occasionally even accompanied by a mock make-out session. There's even a website, kissthisguy.com, dedicated to collecting user-generated stories of misheard lyrics. 6. Jimi Hendrix played his guitar upside down. Ever the Snowman, Hendrix's many guitar playing quirks become part of his legend, in addition to play with his teeth, behind his back or without touching the instrument strings. He also played his guitar upside down, thought there was a very simple reason for that. He was left-handed. His father tried to get him to play right-handed, as he considered left-handed playing a sign of the devil. 7. Jimi Hendrix played backup for a number of big names. Thought Hendrix's names would eventually eclipse more as he played with his early days. He played backup guitar for a number of big names under the names Jimmy James, including Sam Cooke, Little Richard, Wilson Pickett, Ike and Tina Turner, and the Alley Brothers. In addition, for the aforementioned music legends, Hendrix also helped actress Jane Mansfield in her musical career. In 1965, he played lead and bass guitar on Sue, the B-side of her single As the Clouds Drift By. 8. Jimi Hendrix was once kidnapped after a show. Thought the details surrounding Hendrix's kidnapping are a bit sketchy. In Room Full of Mirrors, a biography of Jimi Hendrix, Charles R. Cross wrote about how the musician was kidnapped following a show at the Salvation, a club in Greenwich Village. He left with a stranger to score cocaine, but was instead held hostage at an apartment in Manhattan. The kidnappers demanded that Hendrix manager Michael Jeffrey turn over Jimi's contract in exchange for his release. Rather than agree to the ransom demand, Jeffrey hired his own guns to search out the extortioners. Mysteriously, Jeffrey's thugs found Jimi 2 days later, unharmed. It was such a strange incident that Noel Redding suspected that Jeffrey had arranged the kidnapping to discourage Hendrix from seeking other managers. Others argued the kidnapping was authentic. 9. Jimi Hendrix opened for the Monkees. Thought it's funny to imagine such a purring today. Hendrix warming up the Monkees crowd of teeny bopper fans actually made sense for both acts back in 1967. For the band, having a seriously talented like Hendrix open for them would help lend them some credibility among seriously music fans and critics. Todd Hendrix thought the Monkees' music was dishwater. He wasn't well known in America, and his manager convinced him that partnering with the band would help raise his profile. One thing they didn't take into account, the young girls who were in midst of monkey mania. The Monkees' twin fans were confused by Hendrix's overtly sexual strange antics. On July 16, 1967, after playing just each of their 29 scheduled tour dates, Hendrix flipped off audience in Queens, New York, threw down his guitar and walked off the stage. 10. You can visit Jimi Hendrix London apartment. In 2016, the London flat where Hendrix really began his career was restored to that it would have looked like when Jimi left there from 1968 to 1969, and reopened as a museum. The living room that doubled as his bedroom, decked out of bohemian decor, and a pack of Benson and Hedges cigarettes sits on the bedside table. There is also space dedicated to his record collection.